Hey there. And for the few that might be actually looking at this now or in the future, welcome back. I'm not sure I'm going to bother putting a video of myself on this time because I'm just going to kind of talk a little bit. This is almost my session 0, but not quite because I've kind of done a little bit of work on the on my Star Wars Edge of the Empire Solitaire campaign. I have decided, even though I kind of like decided against, I guess, originally. I've decided I'm going to use Roll20. So I had used Roll20 for my my first attempt at an Edge of the Empire campaign with a group of players here that it just wasn't working out really. It wasn't fun for me. So I kind of put the kibosh on it pretty early there, which is unfortunate. Like I said, I really wanted to give this a shot, play a little bit more of this. So what I did is just kind of duplicate that campaign so that I could make use of some of the cool stuff that I thought I'd kind of come up with, and some of the stuff that I had here. So the first thing I actually did before even doing this is we're just going to bounce over here because I like to use Google Drive as much as possible for things. So I created a character. Lame as it is, I kind of modeled his likeness anyway using Midjourney to create a Star Wars smuggler-looking character based on Jax Teller, Charlie Hunnam's character from Sons of Anarchy. So he kind of looks like Jax from Sons of Anarchy. No real intention to play him that way at all in terms of the personality, but still kind of like a rebellious type. So anyway, I found this cool character sheet. I think there's actually an updated version of this, but this is the one I started with, so this is what I'm using. So Jax Kellan is a smuggler with a specialization in the scoundrel tree. So he's not necessarily the most trustworthy person, but you know he kind of has a. I always like to kind of play the hero or anti-hero types. Those who kind of you can at least get a little sympathy for them. So I created, oops, there we go, we got that kind of popping up there. I should have shut down Steam apparently while I was doing this. So I kind of created this character with the intention of, testing things out. I really want to play a smuggler type of campaign. A guy on his ship with, a crew potentially. Although the way it kind of starts out here, so, I mean, Jax is, he's a little skilled when it comes to deception. Yeah, makes sense. Same with his skullduggery. He does have various career skills across the board, but really I threw a lot of the points into brawn, like basically into my kind of main attributes here, because I wanted to kind of get a good starting base for that. I do need to go through and make sure everything's kind of working so well. When I came to my motivations, I really kind of pictured Firefly as my motivation here. I'm looking at Mal Reynolds kind of as my character. He's definitely not a big fan of the Empire, or and whatever, of using Star Wars terminology, of course, because it's a Star Wars game. But got a ship, keep it running. Keep one step ahead of the Empire, and of course in the Crime Lord he owes money to, which we'll get to in obligations here. He's like, that's freedom, that's life on the fringe. Smuggling and con jobs against those who deserve it, of course, make that a possibility. Get credits, get jobs, get credits, get paid, keep flying. So kind of the Firefly mentality with Star Wars, which is kind of like the game that I really wanted to play, or kind of really wanted to play using Star Wars Edge of the Empire. So because it's one player character, I decided that he should take 20 points worth of obligation. So his first one is that he owes a debt, 50,000 credits to a crime lord, and this crime lord is going to take his ship. Jax doesn't really like that. It's the only thing that keeps him free, so to speak, right? But I also wanted to kind of throw in something that would be a good NPC to kind of kick around too. So he has a sense of responsibility to take care of this person and keep safe. It's his first mate. After a little bit of kind of toying around with the idea, I kind of came up with the idea that Like, I could have went traditional, could have went with a Wookiee, or could have went with a droid or something like that, but I'm like, let's go a little Return of the Jedi on this. And Jax's, main character is, his obligation is to Kay. He's got a soft spot, so I've kind of come up with a couple ideas that I've just, put out here. So it's like, in the words of Jax himself, captain of the Driftwood, a YT-1300 freighter, the Fringers think life on Coruscant is all servants, high-end speeders, and never-ending credits. Man, there may very well be some of that on the core world, but I never saw any of it. I grew up in the Undercity, and I'll tell you, there ain't nobody in the Undercity you can count on except yourself. Sure, you can get into a swoop gang. Maybe they got your back for a while. At least until there's a reason to cut your throat with a vibroblade. Maybe it's just to make a few credits, or maybe it's just to get a square meal. I got lucky. Not everyone in my family was. I lost a father. I lost a little brother. Again, a little bit of that Sons of Anarchy there. I haven't seen my mother in years, but I got off Coruscant. I got myself a ship, and I'm flying. Sure, I do a bit of smuggling, and sometimes outright thievery to keep my ship in the void, but the Empire can't take hyperspace from me, man. That's freedom. Again, little Jax Teller, little Mal Reynolds, little, all that kind of thrown in there. But then we got his first mate, his co-pilot, who's not really much of a pilot. And I'm still kind of fleshing all this character out a little bit, and I'm doing so just with these kinds of in-person bits of writing. So I kind of enjoy the journaling aspect of role playing. The last D&D campaign I played in, and I'm not a great player. Like I enjoy playing my characters, but I really prefer a game master kind of seat. So to keep myself really interested in the game, we were playing through Storm King's Thunder. I went through 2 characters in that. One died in the middle of it, and I picked up a new character. I journaled both characters, so in 2 different voices, of course. One was the first was a Tabaxi warlock who had accidentally become a warlock. Didn't really mean to do it. He just looked in the wrong book and started reading because he was curious and became a warlock. Ended up, So the Tabaxi. I wrote in that personality, and when that character died, I wrote him out with his journal entry from the from where all Tabaxi go to to meet their maker kind of thing. And then I came in with another character who was a gnomish bard, a ladies' man, musician type, always talking about getting the band back together, throwing a little bit of Blues Brothers there with that character, just really enjoyed the journaling aspect, and it's partly how I kept myself interested and kept attention and kept things straight as to what the hell was going on in Storm King's Thunder. That campaign is now over. I'm taking a break from all D&D campaigns. I'm kind of focusing on other things, but I like that. So I'm trying to do the same, and I'll do the same with this with the solitaire game. So I tried to answer how did I end up with this character? How did I end up with this person I feel responsible for, and that is enough. I feel responsible for enough that I have a 10-point obligation to. So, how did I end up with Kay? Well, she would have starved to death on Dantooine if I hadn't taken her with me. Sure, she's an Ewok, but she reminded me so much of my little brother. Brave, daring, and trouble. No idea how she got there. I heard there from some little moon in a nearly forgotten system. But there she was. I stepped in to help her out of a tough situation, and she's stuck to me like glue ever since. I wish I could understand her, but I think Kay's starting to understand me a bit. Kay might be smarter than Jax. We're not really sure there. If she's picking up on more of the basic common tongue of the Star Wars universe, then obviously he's not really picking up on Ewok. But there we go. There's kind of a sense as to where I'm starting with this character. I still need a little bit more fleshing out to do, of course. I've kind of got the Star Wars Adversaries page bookmark because this is awesome. I really love this page for just keeping track of all the hundreds or however 1,346 apparently different NPCs of different types that are in here. So, but here we go. So I did this, so I launched into my Roll20 there. I like taking this as I use this as a splash page as well. Kind of borrow this from the web. Somebody had created it here, taken this. I'm pretty sure this is out of the book too. So, but they'd taken this and put a bunch of blank spots, which is kind of handy. So there we go. I've got Jax, Kellan as persons of note. I still need an Ewok for K. Jax doesn't really actually know K's name. Chances are, I figure what happened was she said something in the with a k syllable, beginning at the or sound at the beginning of whatever she said, and he kind of took whatever that was for her name, but he couldn't pronounce it, couldn't get her to repeat it. It's K. So this thing's kind of cool. So what I've used this type of thing, what I used this for in my last campaign there, I put a little picture of the planet I'm on with its name here under the current location. We got persons in note, which will be more or less the crew of the Driftwood. The network here was going to be other NPCs that'll slowly start filling up and making things interesting here. HoloNet news, whatever obligations, I can kind of keep this just kind of to Jax's obligations, of course, because that's all I really have. K is not meant to be a main. K is meant to be an NPC, not another player character. And I figure maybe over time, the thoughts are that Jax kind of continues traveling. We do a little bit of open sandbox here. I do have some ideas as to where I'm going with all of this, maybe kind of ish. At least a few plot points that I had created for my old multiplayer campaign there, and I'd like to kind of bring into this. So I'm going to kind of borrow heavily on what I did in that campaign to create stories and characters and NPCs, that kind of thing in this campaign. Maybe Jax ends up with a bit of a crew. Maybe just kind of like, the Firefly crew. Maybe there's people that, kind of come and go off the crew a little bit, which, when Firefly starts out, Malcolm Reynolds has his crew, and you kind of find out that originally it was just him and Zoe, right? And slowly kind of adds more people. When you get to Serenity, he's kind of he's had somebody leave the ship. He's had another character get mad. And they decide they're going. Kind of partly kicks off the way the movie Serenity kind of flows. But so maybe Jax has characters that that come and go off of his ship that he deals with. But I do kind of like this whole thing here, because what I'll do over time is I'll just kind of create a little circle. I'll just circle which star system he's in, so I also know where exactly I am. Trying to find your way around this map's not always easy. And when you check out like Wikipedia or something, not all of the entries have the galactic coordinates noted. So this is kind of where I'm going. I'm still not quite there in terms of what I need to do, where all the characters, all the fleshing out of Jax. I haven't fleshed out K at all. I may kind of let some of this build as we just kind of go, as we start. I figure sometime in the next couple of weeks I'll actually just start a session 1, go with it, and just see where things go. I also need to figure out kind of who it is Jax owes all this money to, and kind of how he came to it. So I'm really kind of thinking like, he didn't drop cargo. He didn't, he didn't borrow money to buy the spaceship. I'd like it to be something a little different from like the Han Solo story or something like that. Maybe Jax became at odds with that crime lord, and maybe took something from him, and the crime lord's really pissed off about it. Be like, that was worth 50,000 of my credits. You're gonna pay me that back, because whatever you took is gone. And you know what? If you don't have the money to pay me, I'm gonna take your ship, and you'll be lucky if I don't kill you at the same time. So maybe that's what it is. I need to kind of still work a little bit on some of his character and his backstory and his motivations. So, I mean, even in terms of motivations, we did kind of put some of this in here somewhere, right? We know this. Freedom to him is, life on the fringe, life on a ship, keeping it going. I've kind of added a little bit here. I still need to kind of put everything into this talent tree, but this is the scoundrel talent tree, which he's picked up a first couple of items or first couple of talents from here. I like this because it's got the XP log, so I can keep track of everything. Just kind of scroll on through hundreds of levels. Adding XP as he goes. Not entirely sure how I want to do that. Not really expecting my sessions to go more than an hour at a time, especially since I'm doing all the talking and all the creating. So maybe it'll be like 5 XP a session that I'm kind of tacking on so that he builds a little bit, but not anything too ridiculously quick. I'd like to kind of really test out the system a little bit more. Not going to be dealing with the Force. I really do not want him to have any kind of Force powers whatsoever. In fact, I might just delete this entire... Then again, maybe I won't, because I don't know what happens if I delete a delete a sheet out of this thing. But anyway, there we go. Jax Kellan, Star Wars Edge of the Empire, a solitaire campaign. This is kind of my session 0. I'm making quotey fingers as I do this, even though I don't have my camera on. But that's where we're at. So if you're interested, I don't know. Stay tuned and keep an eye on what's going on with this campaign. Take it easy.